My name's Tasha. I'm the community manager for Pure Connection. And Pure Connection is Daily's developer forum where you can get help using Daily, but you can also learn more about WebRTC because we love the technology. And of course, Daily helps developers build live video and audio experiences into any product. With me today is Daily Solutions Engineer Jack, and he's going to be showing us how to get started with Daily Prebuilt. And if you're not familiar with Prebuilt, that's cool. It's Daily's ready to go, out of the box, fully supported solution for adding a video call interface into any other product. It's ridiculously easy to use and to add to another app. So the demo is relatively short, but we still have a great agenda. First, we're going to show you how to use the Daily dashboard to set the video call. Next, we'll show you how to embed that video call into another app. And then we'll go over all the features that are available to you. Then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. And speaking of questions, you can type them into the chat at any time. We'll answer them live at the end of the demo. And with that, I'll stop sharing and pass the mic to you, Jack.
Thanks, Tasha. So Tasha already mentioned a bit about what Daily Prebuilt is, but it's also worth asking, well, what does Daily Prebuilt actually look like? And the quick answer is it looks like this. So you're in a Daily Prebuilt call right now. And what we're going to do over the next few minutes is basically show you how to get this kind of call experience directly onto your own page. And just a little more details about Prebuilt. It's essentially a hosted call component that you can drop into any web page. And it's fully supported by our engineering and product teams. We're always pushing out updates for it. It works cross-browser, including both desktop and mobile web. And it has, of course, all the features that you would expect in a modern video call. So things like screen sharing, chat, recording, and emoji reactions, which some of you have already been trying out. And it's also, exactly, those ones right there. And it's also very performant. So just to give you an idea, we recently announced support for very large calls. So calls that have up to 100,000 participants actually in the call. Not to mention that we make it easy to stream to third-party platforms like Twitch, YouTube, or even your own endpoints. And of course, given you have the audience, you know, those calls could be reaching possibly millions of people. So thousands in the call, and then potentially millions beyond. And the thing to note is that even if you don't actually need such large calls, the point is that we put a lot of engineering effort into improving all the infrastructure to support high quality calls at that scale. So the work we do to support the large ones actually benefits all of our customers. Okay, so with that, we can hop right in. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. And what we're going to be using today to actually build this demo is Glitch. So if you're not familiar, Glitch is an online editor that just makes it really easy to write your code, share it, and get a unique URL for it. So for our purposes, we're just going to use their basic website starter code here. And we'll wait for that to load. And while it's loading, let's head over to the Daily documentation here. So if you go to the Getting Started, to the Pre-Built section of Daily, you'll see this pretty simple code snippet here that you can copy. And let's paste that over into our index.html. So we actually don't need all this boilerplate that Glitch gave us. We can just paste the Daily code. And you'll notice that it's really just 2 lines at this point, and we're just missing a daily room URL. So we'll get to that in a minute, but let's take a look at what it looks like right now. Okay, so the room is not found, and we'll just head over to our dashboard to fix that. Okay, so if you've already signed up for daily, then you should have access to the dashboard. And one thing to keep in mind is that as soon as you sign up, you'll have 10,000 free minutes per month. So that's good to know. And let's hop over to rooms. And we're going to create a new room. It looks like we already have a room called Hello World, so I'm going to just call this one Hey World instead. And we're going to dive into all of these options a little more later on. But for now, let's just basically enable all the options, okay? So let's put advanced text chat. Got to have the emoji reactions, background effects, and everything else. Okay, now we create the room. And let's copy that room link real quick. So we have the room URL, and you can access this already if you visit this URL that I just pasted, that I just cut and pasted. So that's available already. But if we want to have it on our own page, we just go back to Glitch, and we're going to update this URL. Okay, so now when we preview again, we'll see that we already have a call embedded on our own page now. The only thing to note is that it's not taking up the whole, hey Tasha, it's not taking up the whole size of the browser window, but that's easy enough to fix. If we go back to the docs, scroll down a little bit, we'll see this little chunk iframe style. So iframe style is just an object that we can pass into our create frame call here. And it's just setting basic CSS properties on our call frame. So if we preview again, we'll see that it's now a full screen pre-built call, just like the one that you initially joined. Okay, so now that we have this, we can take a look at the different features that are here. So of course, you have full control over your camera and microphone, as you would expect. But you also have these other features here in this toolbar. So you have a chat. Me and Tasha can chat to each other. We can add emojis, maybe a wave one, not that wave, I want the other, that one. You can react. And you can also do Giphies, or however you say it. So Jiffy, let's go. First one's Drake. Good to me. And you can also download this chat for later on. So that can come in handy. You also have emoji reactions out of the box, which you already saw. You have hand raising. So this can be handy in larger calls where you might have a host who is taking answers from the audience. And so audience members who want to ask a question, they just raise their hands. And then that makes it really easy for hosts to tell who needs their questions answered. Screen sharing, of course, you've already seen. That's what I'm using right now. And then recording, there's two different options here. So you have the option to do local recording, which would mean that the recording of the call gets saved to your computer. But you can also do cloud recording, which means that the recordings get saved on Daily's servers. And another cool thing that we're not going to go into much depth here, but it's good to know is that you can actually customize these recordings a bit. So, for example, if you wanted to have watermarks on all of your recordings, it's pretty easy to pass that in just as an extra parameter when you actually start a recording. Okay, and then finally, if you go into your options, you can set different background effects. So you can be in a coffee shop or in a forest, and then there's a bunch of these, hills, roller coaster, ocean, library, whatever you're in the mood for. But for now, I'll just go back to my kitchen and we'll go from there. All right. So we'll head back to the dashboard here. And let's go into this room that we just made. And we'll talk about the settings that are available a little bit more. Okay, so of course you can limit the room's privacy. So public is the kind that we just made, but you can also make it private, in which users would need a token to join. And let's try that. If you've enabled a private room, then you can also have knocking. So everybody needs a token to join, but if they don't have a token, they can still knock, and then a host can let them in. The pre-join UI is what you saw at the start of a call. Basically, it's just a screen where it's just you, and it lets you check your hair, check your lighting, check your audio levels, make sure that everything's good before you actually join the call. Two features that come in handy for default behavior, depending on your use case, are these cameras and microphone on start. So for a collaborative product, if you have a small work session where you have a handful of people working together, communicating heavily, then it makes sense for cameras and mics to be on at the start. But if you have a different use case, like, for example, fitness, where maybe people don't want the fitness coach to see them or hear them, then you can have these off by default, and then users can still change their microphone and video as needed. Okay, screen sharing, that one's straightforward. You've already seen. Text chat is pretty interesting because you might want to disable text chat, for example, if you're an education use case where you're dealing with young students and you don't want them to get too distracted just chatting with each other and sending memes back and forth. But if you're in a workplace setting and you need to share links and maybe it's okay to share a meme or two, then you can enable basic chat or more advanced text chat to get all the reactions and things like that. These other ones, background effects and hand raising, we've already seen. Recording, we've talked about. One thing we didn't mention yet is language. So right now, the room is set to English, but if you already know the preferred interface language for a user, you could set it here to their specific language, or one of the options is also the browser setting. So that can come in handy. And before I go to these advanced settings down here, it's important to note that all of these settings, everything I'm showing you, is accessible through APIs as well. So if you're creating rooms dynamically, you can also set all these specific parameters dynamically. So for example, these first two advanced settings here, maximum participants and eject after, this might come in handy if you had different kinds of subscription tiers. Maybe you have free users who you only allow to create rooms with 5 participants, say, and their sessions can only last up to an hour. And you would set these accordingly to 5 participants and 3,600 seconds. But maybe you have premium users who can have rooms up to 100 participants, and maybe they just can run unlimited. Then you could set that accordingly as well. Owner-only broadcast is a specific setting that's useful for webinars. So the webinar that you joined is actually using the owner-only broadcast setting, and that just lets the hosts have camera and mic, while the rest of the audience just uses the chat, for example. The meeting join hook can be interesting in a few use cases. So one example might be if you if you offer support to your customers through video calls, then anybody could join your call at any time, and then you'd be able to hit an endpoint of your own to, for example, through Zapier, send a Slack message to your support staff like, hey, there's somebody in the video call, go over there and join them now. Another example might be if you're tracking user analytics, then maybe you could send a meeting join event to Mixpanel, for example. That'd be another use. Now, these final three, not before expires and then ejecting on expires, basically relate to maybe scheduled events. So if you have events that are recurring, say weekly, then you could be updating these to just the specific time spans that you actually need them for, just to make sure that nobody joins outside of the scheduled time. And if I set this one here, then you can also say whether people should be ejected when the meeting ends. Okay, so that basically covers the room settings here. But one thing I want to mention, if we head over to the docs, again, you'll notice that we've already gotten a daily pre-built call in place. And for lots of use cases, this might already be enough. But you see that there's actually a whole bunch more here in our documentation. And that just gives you a little bit of a hint that there's a lot more you can do. There's a lot more customization possible. And one example of that, just to give you a little bit of imagination, is one of our customers is Kumo Space, and they have this kind of virtual environment where instead of just a traditional video call like you joined, they have people actually navigating an office environment where these two people on the couch can only hear each other. And then when they leave the couch, they enter one of these rooms, they only hear the other people in those rooms. So that kind of experience is enabled by our client SDKs. And basically, they let you control each specific video element, each specific audio track, and manipulate these in as many ways as you can really imagine. And so with that, I'll stop sharing and hand it over to Tasha.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. I love that Kumo Space example. Every time I see it, I just want to go in there and decorate the rooms and play with it. It's so cool. We had a couple questions come in, so we'll get started. The first one was, can you also enable knocking? I know we went over that, but maybe we can cover it a little more. This person said that they were having a little trouble with it earlier. Can you show us a little more in depth how knocking works?
Yeah, sure. So let's see. Okay, so we have this Hey World room, and we've enabled knocking. And now, if I actually navigate to the room, copy the link. Right now, there's not a host in the room. So it won't be available. But if I had joined as an owner with a meeting token, then this person would have the option to knock, and I would be able to actually approve them.
Jack, do you have a meeting
Oh,
token you can send to me and I'll try going in there?
uh, oh, actually, sorry. I think I also edited the start times of this room, so that's what's going on. Hang on. Yeah, so uh, okay. So yeah, this is what you would see, waiting for a host to respond. And I would need to actually generate a meeting token. So I can do that for one second. Actually, apologies. I don't have my API keys set up to create meeting tokens for this room. I have it
That's
on my
okay.
personal. Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm glad it was asked. And being the community manager, my ears perk up and say, we need to do some more content on knocking. So look for something soon in the daily forum and we'll cover that some more. That was a great question. And we've got lots of other questions coming in. Can you have a pre-recorded video segment and have this programmatically played at a set time so you can orchestrate a live video experience?
Yeah, so this is a relatively new feature, actually. So you won't see much about it in our documentation quite yet, but it's called Remote Media Player. And basically, very similar to the way that we handle recordings and streams, we have methods to start, update, pause, or stop the media player. So for example, if you needed to start the player when the first person joins, then you could listen for a first meeting join event and then call that start remote media player method. If it was responsive to a button click instead, you could do that. You could wait for a button click and then call start remote media player. And you would just need to pass in the specific URL of the video that you want everybody to see.
Very cool. The next question, oh, I mentioned it. How did Tasha get video permissions? Did you promote her to owner or were you able to define her role prior to entering somehow? And I assume they're talking about this call we're in right now.
Mhm. Yeah, so Tasha and I both joined this call with owner tokens. So when you're specifying an owner token, you can say essentially, is owner true or is owner false? And anybody who joins with the specific owner token appended to the URL will have video permissions and then whatever else has been enabled.
Yeah, it really is that easy. Before, when we were preparing for this demo, I was a little nervous. Didn't know if we could do this. And Jack was like, yeah, we can do it, no problem. So it does make it very easy to add more than one host to a demo or to any video call. The next question, is iframe responsive? And if not, can it be set so the display is responsive?
So the iframe itself should be responsive, yes.
Great. That's cool. And we can follow up with a little bit more of that in the thread later on. Someone else asked, is Kumo Space using your spatial audio video SDK? And do you have pre-built code for this?
So that would not be in Prebuilt. They would be using one of our client SDKs. And yes, they're using the spatial audio. And I think we have some blog posts that actually go into spatial audio quite a bit for how you can actually manage that with your own code as well.
Very cool. Is the room not available? Oh, someone was asking before when you knocked. Was the room not available because of the NBF you set?
Yes, I had forgotten that I was editing those two parameters for like a year from now. I think I set them for like 2025 or something. So yeah, that room was not available when I first joined.
And so NBF stands for what?
Not before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that question came from someone at Daily. Thanks for the help there. Okay, the next question is, I read your HIPAA compliance instructions. So I reached out to support to turn on HIPAA, and it's set at the domain level. Is there anything else that we need to do?
Well, there's general best practices for sure that our team can guide you through, because even if you've enabled HIPAA compliance, there's still, things that you need to do, like for your whole product, I guess, like regardless of Daily's involvement, to be actually HIPAA compliant. But as far as the Daily side of things, that is basically it. Just stay in touch with the support people if you already have a contact over here, and we can advise you on the best paths forward, what we've seen other healthcare products doing. But yeah, that is really it.
Cool. And we have time for just one more question, and it's a good one. Okay. Regarding the hosting of recordings, your pricing mentions a per minute price. How is that calculated? What if we delete recordings halfway through our month? Very tricky.
Oh, so honestly, I don't know how the proration of that gets factored in. We would need to double check on our end to be sure.
Okay, that's fine, because we can cover that in the thread, which brings me to the end. Let me just slide in and share the screen. Okay. So thanks so much for joining us for this live demo. It was so great to see so many people attend and to get so many really awesome questions. Speaking of those questions, I saw that there were a few additional in the chat that we didn't get to. So look out for a follow-up thread that's going to be created in the Peer Connection forum. That's where you can watch a recording of this demo and then also ask additional questions. And I'll be sure to follow up with any questions we didn't get to in that thread as well. Then in December, probably about mid-December, look out for another live demo where we're going to focus on those client SDKs that do the kinds of things like audio spatialization and all kinds of fun things like you saw with Kumo Space. And you can ask questions about how to create those custom layouts. So look out for that. We'll post the date for that soon in Peer Connection. And of course, you can talk to our sales team anytime at the URL on your screen, Or you can also go over to daily.co and click the Talk to Sales button. So that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I hope you'll tune in again in December. Hop over to the forum and look out for that thread. Bye for now.